So glad to see you after this holiday week. I missed you guys. Hey, my name's Tyler. I'm one of your community organizers. I've got Caitlin, John, Kyle, Courtney somewhere in the back. How many of you are here for your first time? Raise your hand. Okay, perfect. Thank you guys for coming. Yeah, give yourselves a round of applause. Give yourselves a round of applause. Awesome. All right, so here's the way it works. We've got two presenters that are going to get up here, and they're going to tell you a little bit about their business, and then we're going to turn it over to our expert panelists, and they're going to drill into these guys' business, ask them some good questions, and then we're going to turn it over to you to ask some good questions. I did want to welcome Warrensburg High School, and also want to introduce our caffeinators. If you are a caffeinator, could you please raise your hand, stand up, raise your hand. All right. Yes. All right. These guys are people you want to connect with, so get with them if you have any questions after the program. Don't forget to take out your cell phone and download the 1 Million Cups app, or if you already have it, check in and leave our presenters some feedback. And I'm going to turn it over to our expert panelists to go ahead and introduce themselves after a brief delay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Aditya Valetti. I'm Director of Community and Partnerships with the Lean Lab. We are a startup incubator for education ventures here in Kansas City. And we recently finished supporting our last cohort of fellows right before Thanksgiving. And now I'm on the lookout for our next entrepreneurs to support.
Hey, good morning. Jeff Shackelford, Director for the Digital Sandbox here in Kansas City. Hopefully most of you have heard of it. Early stage proof of concept program to help folks with scalable business ideas, move from idea to prototype to commercialization, help you raise funding, so on and so forth. So I'm here because Kyle calls me and says, hey, we need somebody, and I tend to be close, and I love it. So can't wait to hear these guys.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. All right, it's kind of a thin crowd, but please give a loud, warm welcome for Sarah Shipley with Off Kilter Matilda and the Prime Number Club.
All right, hey everybody, I am so excited to be here for the millionth time. I am old hat at this, and I talk really fast, and we're just gonna go for it. First, who here came from St. Louis to see me? Raise your hand. Woohoo! All right. So this is Off Kilter Matilda and the Prime Number Club, and this is going to get girls really excited about math. But you know what it's going to do also? It's really going to save the world. But before I really get into the whole story, I need to tell you the backstory. This is Irv. Raise your hand, Irv. He was in the military in Afghanistan when my daughter was born. It was kind of sad. But to make things a little bit better, he would write stories back and forth to me. I read these stories to my daughter, and guess what these stories were? Were they great? No. They were boring. We're nerds. They're about math and science. So guess what? I rewrote these stories, and I made them into kids' books. And this is what we've got. So I'm solving 3 problems. We have a national STEM deficit. I'm speaking to the choir. I'm not going to get into the details. We have a math is hard problem. Who here remembers the Barbie from 1992? Anybody? All right. We are still working against those misconceptions about math. The adults that are teaching our kids, they went through the math is hard stage. We are working to prevent this. And the thing that makes me mad as hell, loss of wealth. Okay, ladies, there are a few of you here. Who here, when they got their first job offer, just took it? Don't be shy, you can raise your hand. Who didn't negotiate? The fact that you did not negotiate and that you did not know math really quickly, well, guess what? That gives you a loss of wealth over a lifetime. I don't like that at all, and I don't want that for my daughter. So guess what? Here's our product, and here's the anchor of our product. This is Off Kilter Matilda. We have a character. We have 1 book out. We have 2 books coming out later. She's mismatched. She has 5 spots on one side and 6 spots on the left. All of the other animals, or all the other insects, they have symmetry. She is not like anyone else. She learns about prime numbers. She learns to be a math leader. Here's what we have in our product portfolio. We have books, 1, 2, and 3 coming out every year. We have our club. Who here knows Girls on the Run? pretty successful. This is modeled after that, but for math. We have teaching materials, vocabulary, and hands-on activities. We are working on our app and our video shorts. Well, use cases. These slides are so boring when they don't have pictures. We have individuals, we have schools, we have organizations. We're dialing into our product and our user. So we're going to do national first, of course. We can get the most traction. Then we're going to schools. We'll start our clubs, the Off-Kilta, Matilda, and the Prime Number Club. And then we're going individuals. And I'm not going to waste money on inefficiencies, so we're going after clusters. First ring suburbs around national labs are where our audiences are at. Think of Oak Ridge Laboratory. That first ring suburbs around those areas, they're filled with people that love STEM. All right, this market is crowded. It's hugely crowded. But you know who wins in this market? People that get their own audience, they get their own user base, and they elbow their way in. We can do this, and we can do this because, well, tons of people have done it. Authors get in after 3 years when they have their own user base. That's very important, and that's what we're going to concentrate on. Revenue model. Now, for apps and for tech, this might look small, but it looks small only because I use these numbers, and they're very conservative. They're based on the staff that I have, and you'll see that slide next. So year one, book one, 47K. Not bad. I mean, I'm a capitalist. I really don't like, I don't like not making money. All that grammar was great. Year two, book two, an app, we do gain credibility and we do school clubs. Year three, book three, we have video shorts and we grow our clubs and we expand our demographic range. Now, I have really good news, so you ready? As of last night, my crowdfunding campaign is fully funded. You ready? It's gonna get better. As of this morning, we have angel investing. Kill it. All right. So, and that was a 5 a.m. phone call. So this is great stuff. Here's my bus, my team, and my brain trust. So the bus is on this side. This is a family affair. As you can probably tell, I hit the gas and I push the horn. My daughter, Madeline, logistics, son, IP, looks like IP, right? And my husband over there, he is the steering and the brakes. He keeps me from going under all the time. We have our wonderful illustrator, Eric, and Garima, she helps me. She's a communications specialist. And then I have my brain trust. And a lot of them, well, you're in this room. Who here is in the brain trust? All right, yeah, raise your hand. So you listen to my bad ideas, you tell me no, you say, Sarah, that is such an awful decision, don't invest there. And you know what, it works. So I bring you to the end. In 3 years from now, or maybe a little bit sooner, I want to see Off-Kilta Matilda in libraries, on bookshelves. My connections are in the entrepreneurial world. I do marketing and communications for a living. I need connections in the educational world with national networks, with international networks, and, well, with the people you think that would fit with me. Off-Kilta Matilda.
Let's give her a round.
The book is here. I will ask you, no sticky fingers, it's a prototype. So.
Perfect. We're going to turn it over to our expert panelists. Take it away, guys.
So you kind of touched on what I was going to ask first was, how do you get some educational expertise on your team?
Yeah, that's a huge one. I have been using my brain trust for educational expertise. I've been working with a lot of my professors from WashU. Ron King, I have to give him a shout out. He has been helping me nonstop. I'm trying to gather people around that can really help. I've also interviewed teachers and worked with classrooms just to get their reaction on the product to see what they would like. And I can give you an example of one thing. So when I was working with teachers and parents, this was the original prototype and still is. There's something really wrong with this. It's too big. So moms, do you want to put this in your purse? Dads, will it fit in your pocket? So I thought it was a great size. We have to, well, not cut in half, but we have to shrink it because it fits it fits for parents, it fits for teachers and totes, and kids can carry it around.
Secondly, have you thought of any grant funding? There's lots of different foundations and things out there geared towards educational and this sort of program. And you don't have to always be not-for-profit to go after this.
Sure, you know what, that is something I've thought about, but I have not yet jumped the shark on that because I haven't had the time. This took off so quickly that I have been concentrating on the places where I could gain traction the most, but I would love ideas on grant efforts.
All right. If you need connections in the education space, you should come and talk to me afterwards. But
And you have a math background. So
yes,
we can
definitely.
chat.
My question is, it is often really hard to get teachers to switch over from what they're already using to something new, especially in terms of content, especially experienced teachers. So you said you were working really hard to build your own user base. Can you tell me more about what you're doing there?
Yes, so that is exactly right. It is very hard to get people to switch. It's virtually impossible. I've been working with them individually. I'll go and I'll meet, I tell them about the product. It's very interesting. Younger teachers are more willing to switch because they don't think that some of the scholastic materials and some of the other materials are authentic enough. And so I've had a lot of success there. I've also had success at charter schools. It seems that those teachers are more willing to take risks, and they've been really interested about the fact that the DAL can be used to show prime numbers, but can also be used to make it easier and more comfortable to teach math. So lots of in-person interviews, joining math associations, and then I'm working on writing a few white papers for credibility as well.
All right, audience, go ahead and get those hands up. We're going to start asking you some questions.
I have one on your right.
Hi, great presentation. I'm curious how you figured out some of those target markets. We talked a little bit before, and you have some very specific target markets. One of them sounded like an idea I hadn't even thought about with some of where the national labs are. But I'm just curious if you talk a little bit more about how you figured that out.
Yeah, I can go back to that. So it's funny that you say that. I am known to be the cheapest person in the world. I just am. And I hate wasting money. And I don't think, I went and I did a lot of demographic research so I could just dial it in and just find those markets. So I have gone to the few of the national labs for other meetings, and when I did some data analysis about who lives where the math clusters are and where the PhD clusters are, I found that not only could I charge more, I could target, and the ceiling was not as high on some of the products that I could offer. So that was pretty exciting for me. And basically, it's data mining. Lots of it.
Question here on your left.
Sure. Hey, Brad, this better be good.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Can you talk a little bit about you list up here K-5. Can you talk a little bit about how you get this into kids' heads at the kindergarten level and how that carries through to 5th grade?
Oh yeah, so this is really interesting. I did not realize the range of my product until I started talking to teachers, and that got really interesting. So I thought when I first put this on market, it would be K to 2nd grade, and when I started visiting schools, some schools would say, oh no, this is definitely for 3rd grade, and some would say, oh, we're not going to teach prime numbers until 5th, which I thought was kind of crazy, but I'm a nerd and love math. So when we developed the book and the product, you'll see that when you pass the book around, you'll see in the illustrations, there's lots of Easter eggs and learning materials that you can do with pre-readers, and then there's vocabulary words, and there's exercises you can do with the older kids as well. And we also made coloring sheets for adults because parents really sometimes get bored while teaching their kids, so we made really intricate coloring sheets with prime numbers, so we can do the whole stream.
Question here in the center.
Sure.
Very cool, exciting presentation.
Hey, thanks.
You obviously love it.
I
That's
do
cool.
love it.
I checked out the website last night when I was looking ahead, and then couldn't get a direction from it. I couldn't really tell what it was. It was a cool name and pictures. And then this morning it looked like initially, oh, it's an after-school club drive. And then you talked about sitting down with teachers and talking about current curriculum, like scholastic materials. And it took me back to confusion.
Sure.
I'm not sure where you're going. Are you going to replace in-classroom curriculum, or are you going to do the cool club after school, like a Girls on the Run, that brings them into the math?
You know, I'm happy you're confused because I'm confused myself. I mean, this is my MVP and I'm trying to figure out my exact product market fit. So we can do in school clubs at the end of every book, after the kids read it, they get a certificate that you can cut out called the Prime Number Club. And there's teaching and education materials that go into the book. So you can do the clubs in school, and you can also do the clubs out of school. So that's one business line. The other one is individual book sales, and then there's an app. But I'm still dialing this in. So yes, I'd be happy to talk direction at any time.
Question over here on your left.
Yeah.
Awesome product. My wife and I have 8 children, and my wife homeschooled that. I'm hoping you're chasing after the homeschool market because the actual school market is so rigid in what they are able to say and do and teach from. The homeschool market is wide open for you to come in with a product like that, so I hope you're chasing after that.
You know, I have been chasing that for about 48 hours because that's how long I've been researching it. And I'll be honest, I mean, this is brand new. So yes, I'm happy to go there. That's why I went to charter schools first, because they're more agile and willing to kind of step out of the box on activities. So homeschools, we'll talk after this.
Sarah, can you tell us more about your history? And also, do you have any advice for female entrepreneurs in the room?
Oh, so I have a long and sordid history. I have been on the stage a few times, and my background is in marketing and PR. And I'm a serial entrepreneur. I mean, I could do this all day long. I love it. I have an MBA, and some of my classmates are in this room, and I will tell you a funny story. I did not get math until, how old am I, 42? Probably, I didn't get math until my mid-30s, and I really didn't kill it until Ron King and his accounting course, because it really made it work. And I thought, man, all the money I left on the table, we gotta do something, and that's how this all took off. That was my eureka moment. But for math nerds, I did not run down the street naked. No joke? Whatever. All right. My background is I try new things. I've had a great successful, and I still keep my successful PR and communications business, which is Shipley-Com. I work mostly on transportation issues and a lot of healthy eating issues and some lobbying on that. But it's whatever it is, it's fun. I've tried it, and I love to do startups.
Question from the expert panel.
Yeah.
Not so much a question as much as a comment, because you shared a little bit here. I applaud you for getting out to the people that, one, are going to use the product, the teachers, and then you also mentioned that you basically let the students design much work. Seen too many who go in the back room, design it, think they know what's going to happen, and then when they take it out, they say this is not even close to what we need. So I love the fact that you're not afraid to get out there, talk with teachers, talk with students, let people tell you that your doll's too big or whatever, because that's what's going to continue to evolve the product. I would warn you that don't get spread too far. Right?
Sure.
You hear all these different markets. This is a huge market spectrum of different groups within the market. So at this stage, you mentioned you've got some traction in some areas. Stick with that traction. You can always expand.
Thank you. Yes. Who here wants to help keep me on task? Because I see butterflies regularly, so you can just help me focus. Thank
Question
you,
up
Linda.
front.
Love the concept, love your energy. This is not only a crowded market, it's a market where a lot of curriculum has been gamified, and with the gamification, the teachers can track outcomes. How will you track and demonstrate outcomes for your curriculum?
Sure, that's a great question, and that's what I'm working on now. So I'm in the development stage of this app, and we want it to look like Matilda's world. So she'll go from a prime number area to a reading area, so she'll learn math vocabulary, and she has a whole kind of an interesting village that she lives in. With this, and this is where it's tricky because there's a lot of work on identifying children, and I have to be careful with that. We want the teachers to be able to see which areas in Matilda's world that the kids can go and what they complete. And so this is still in the concept stages. I'm working with some developers to figure it out. I'm also working with a lot of lawyers because of the way I don't want to track children too much. And I want to make sure I don't identify them. So we're working on it. I'd love help.
Question over here on your left.
Hey, Lawrence, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing so good this morning. Thank you very much for putting all of your experience out there for us. And, echo what the panel said. I love the fact that you are reinforcing the importance of customer discovery. It's something I know you and I are both very passionate about. I often say that entrepreneurs, their ideas never survive first contact with customers, and you're yet again reminding us of that principle. So another question I have, though, I would love for you to help us understand this through your experience, is I often see when an entrepreneur has an idea at your stage, there is too much pressure to monetize it quickly. And I wonder how you're juggling that with the idea of trying to monetize exactly what is Matilda, what does this product line look like, versus let's first get the idea cemented with product market fit, and then we'll worry about the monetization. Where are you with that journey?
Well, so to be fair, I'm a capitalist, and I like to monetize everything. That's my journey. So I'm not pre-revenue, and I'm selling books. I mean, that's my base, right? In this journey, I'm going to have to figure out where I'm going to go with it. In my metrics, when I look at my finances, the books, they sell pretty well. But it's the app and the downloading of the app that I think will really, where the monetization happens. And that, I hope, would happen in year 2. So in a perfect world, and I will say this out loud, in a perfect world, I would love to give the books out for free. Or maybe just one of them. To give them out for free, because you know what? These kids need this information. They are falling apart at the seams with STEM and math, but the app is where the monetization happens. So.
A second follow-up on that, if I could really quickly, is one of the reasons we feel the pressure to monetize is because the runway. And I'm curious how much, oftentimes they don't have enough runway to get to the idea of fully blossoming. You mentioned you had an angel investor. I know you've done a successful crowdfunding campaign. What's your runway look like right now? What's the pressure on the monetization from there?
My runway is short. I mean, it is. It's very short, but I am super lean and I'm cheap. So I can really make this, I can draw this out for a little while until I find more investors.
Another question from the panel?
Yeah. Hi, I'm back. My main question is, so I feel like we've asked a lot of questions about your user and how you're doing that. I want to go back to the origin of why you started this, and can you tell me a little bit more about the impact that you see this story and this book having?
Oh, yes. Okay, so I work with kids all the time. I'm a volunteer with Girl Scouts, and I'm in the schools all the time. And the girls, these little girls are saying math is hard, and I don't get this. And then they're not learning resilience. And math is like anything else. It's like a language. You're going to fail a lot, and it's just like entrepreneurship. And these little girls, they're not learning resilience, and that's really freaking me out. Plus, this wealth creation idea. And if you have people that are just taking what they're getting, it's really disturbing to me. So that's what really got this started. And then, have any of you tried New Math, Go Math? You laugh because it's kicking my butt. So I am learning this with my daughter again, and I'm happy to do it. We're kind of failing together, but we're getting to outcomes that are really cool. Yeah.
I'm sure you know that young boys find math very hard too.
I have a son, his name's Nigel. He finds it very hard too. So that brings me to something kind of cool. Not kind of cool, really cool. So Matilda is a bug, right? She's not a person because I'm very involved with the fact that I don't want any barriers to math. And when you see a picture of a kid that looks like you or doesn't look like you, all of a sudden a barrier goes right up. And so we did, I focus on girls, but we did the bug because we wanted no barriers. And we also, this is a funny little Easter egg nugget for you. You see how Matilda's mom helps her? We thought that was very important for two things. Are there any moms in Disney movies? Usually stepmothers, or they die early. All right? They all die, right? Well, I wanted a real superhero bug mom to teach that math, just to stick it at Disney a little. Sorry, Disney. I want you to buy me someday. All right.
Question here in the center.
Looking at that chart there, it's easy to see the three categories, but when you think about the company that you're presenting or the products, it's easiest to focus on books because books are hard, physical things, everyone knows what they are. So I'm wondering, why is there only one book a year? Why aren't you debuting with 10 books or 12 books?
Well, that's a lot of work. It's a 40-page full-color book that's heavy on the research. So it took me, let's see, he wrote it, he did the pre-writing, I don't know what to call it, 10 years ago, 11 years ago. I've been working on this and refining this book series for years because I really want kids to learn different things in different ways. One of the people that I look at is Mo Willems. Does anyone know Mo? Don't let the pigeon drive the bus. Okay, check him out. He's fabulous. He churns books out, no problem. And the way that he did it at the beginning was he would churn out a book, get a base, churn out the second book, resell to that first base, resell again, and that was his model. I just simply don't have the capacity yet, but I could.
I've had a couple of conversations with Matilda on social media.
Oh, yeah?
Can you tell us about your social media strategy?
Sure. So Matilda's so much fun. So Matilda has her own Facebook page. She has her own Twitter handle, and she has her own Instagram. She talks about STEM. She talks about math. It's her voice. So she is doing education. She's retweeting fun facts. She's doing lots of little videos. And she's speaking to parents about how to teach kids. And then she has some really funny stories too. She tells really bad math jokes. Just horrible puns, worse than mine. That's my social media strategy for her. But then mine is, so I have Shipley Communications. I retweet, I follow, and I just push that forward.
Our final question, what can we as a community do to help you?
You ready? I need connections. Education is really not my space. Entrepreneurialism is. And so I would love connections with national partners. I would love connections with teachers. I would love connections with app developers that can get around all these rules around kids or help enforce them. There's a lot to offer in this room, and there always has been. Every time I come here, there's something joyous about what you leave with, and it's the best part of this. So connections, ideas, high fives, because sometimes you just need those. And if you want to be on the red team, you know what a red team is? They're the ones that tear your business idea apart and make it work. Let me know, because I red team everything I do.
Sarah, thank you so much.
All right, thanks.
All right, let's do Mug Club. Can you please raise your hand if you have been to 1 Million Cups 10 or more times? Awesome. Please put your hand down if you already have a mug. I see a couple over here. John's on his way.
Good morning. Please tell us your name and why you come to 1 Million Cups.
My name is Mohammed Azim, and I've been here many times, and I just absolutely love 1 Million Cups, wonderful presentations, awesome engagement from the audience. So happy to be here.
Enjoy. Thank you.
Excellent. We have a couple of live announcements. We'll start with Aditya.
Hey, I wanted to let you guys know that not this weekend, but the next weekend on Saturday, the Lean Lab will be hosting a workshop for early stage education entrepreneurs. We often use this to sort of seed our pipeline for our fellowship for next year. So if you have an idea for a business that solves a problem in education, please come and talk to me afterwards. And also the information for the workshop is in the handout, or it's like being displayed. So, and it was in the email. So please come up and talk to me, and we would love to help you out and get your idea started. Thank you.
Jeff's up next.
And just a couple of reminders. One, you've seen it flash by. There's a great program in Kansas City called Scale Up. So if you're an existing business, I think you have had to be in business 3 years, 150,000 in revenue or so, but you want to get to the next level. You want to figure out how do I move up. It is a terrific program. Deadline is December 6th to apply. I think they've done 3 different cycles, have really had great success in helping companies scale and grow. On the Digital Sandbox side, we are taking applications to see people in the first quarter. You can pitch to us January, February. Those fill up quickly. The last 2 quarters, I think we've seen 22 companies each quarter. So if you want to get in for either January, February, and then have a decision by March, you need to reach out to digitalsandboxkc.com and get that in, or you'll be waiting till the next quarter.
Thank you, sir. And one more from Caitlin.
All right, really quick, there's a cool event tonight at Hotel Phillips, has a new speakeasy bar in the basement of their hotel. They started a new program called Cocktails and Conversation, and it's a networking event and for entrepreneurs. Tonight it's focused on Michelle Davison, she's a TV personality. You can see her on NBC every morning in Kansas City. And next month is gonna be Chase, the founder of Charlie Hustle. So it's tonight at 7, and it's $10, but that includes a cocktail. And I hope to see you there.
Excellent. And to get all of these announcements and many more in your inbox, go to our website, 1millioncups.com/Kansas City, and join the community, and you will receive a newsletter. All right, let's have a very warm welcome for our next presenter. That's Eric with Gazella Wi-Fi.
Awesome, thank you. Awesome, thanks for having me. I'm gonna try to bring as much energy as Sarah did, so bear with me there. But yeah, I'm Eric with Gazella Wi-Fi. We turn guest Wi-Fi into an automated marketing tool. To kind of explain what that is and kind of where we're at today, I'll just kind of go back a little bit, and I think it all kind of makes sense. So it was a few years ago, I was working at Gallup in Omaha, and I also had convinced First National Bank, I was young and dumb, convinced them to give me a loan, and so I bought a bar. And so I was a fairly busy person. I was working as an employee engagement consultant during the day and then moonlighting as a bar owner at night. And so I was trying to, if I wanted to make that bar successful, I knew I had to automate all of my processes. And so stuff like accounting and payroll and inventory, there were so many different software as a services out there that could automate those for me in like a set it, forget it manner. But my marketing was pretty awful. Like, there's nothing I could really find that was a set it and forget it. So like, I thought of myself as kind of a early adopter to technology, but my marketing processes were putting a fishbowl out on the bar and hoping people would drop their business cards in it. And so it turned out to be really good because we found out that the people that were willing to give us their contact information were coming back more often. They were spending more money, spending more time in the bar. And the primary reason for that is because I had a way to contact them. I could send them an email or send them a text message about our marketing or specials or our party room or catering options. And so as long as at the same time we found that this was working very, very well, but the data entry was awful. We were doing like little contests, for football tickets or concert tickets, which got very expensive. And the data entry was awful. Like no one is a bar, so people would put inappropriate things into the first name, last name column, or they would you couldn't read their handwriting, and so the data entry was awful. So, but at the same time, I noticed a reoccurring theme, and people were asking me the question, what is your Wi-Fi password? And so there was one night that I had a long day at work, and this guy comes in and he asks me, hey, what's the Wi-Fi password? And I kind of just honored that night, and I was like, well, what's in it for me? And the guy, he's like, looked at me with this blank stare, and he was like, well, I'll buy a sandwich. And so I was just like, I'm just kidding, you don't need to buy anything. So that was kind of when we realized, we didn't have to charge $12 an hour like the airports and hotels do for their Wi-Fi, but we didn't also have to give our Wi-Fi away for free either. So that was when Gazella Wi-Fi was born. So we actually offer the Wi-Fi in exchange for an email address or social media engagement or a phone number. And so it kind of works, so basically we ship out our Wi-Fi marketing routers to basically anywhere in the world, and they just have to plug it into their internet connection as well as power. And that's what that's going to do. It's going to open up a brand new guest Wi-Fi network, so it's not going to hit on their point of sale systems or any of their back office computers. And so step 2 is that those small business owners just need to offer the Wi-Fi to their guests for that contact information. And so what we have what's called the access log, which is collecting all of that data. And so what's really cool is like Facebook logins will get their basic profile information. So things like their email address, their gender, their age range, that sort of thing, so we can even further target that marketing. And so what's kind of cool here is that, so we got started in Omaha. We have a few more locations, just been around Omaha a little bit longer. And so we have about 1 in 15, 1 in 20 people in Omaha have actually logged into our system throughout at least one of the locations that we have. So we're starting to collect a lot of data here. And so the real value here is that those restaurants, those small businesses are able to then market to their customers. And so this is actually a very bad image for how this looks. But we have dashboards, and we have all these kind of automated marketing campaigns. And so we don't actually send out any mass blasts or any mass text messages. Everything is one-to-one, so based on conditional statements. So think, if this person comes in for their first time, let's send them a customer satisfaction survey. But maybe if they come in for their 10th time, we're going to send them a coupon or a free cookie or whatever. If we haven't seen them in 30 days, we're going to try to bring that person back with a different offer. And so we do this for about 1,500 locations throughout the U.S., and then a few scattered around other countries. So we have 2 in Hong Kong and 2 in Canada. So I like saying we have an international company, but really it's very negligible. And so with all those locations, we have a handful of different types of businesses. So was this restaurants, coffee shops, movie theaters, dentist office, you name it, we've probably done it. We're working with a casino right now, which I'm kind of excited for. But at this point, you're probably how did this guy get all those locations? So actually, the truth is that I didn't. We've actually partnered with a lot of digital marketers. And so kind of what happened is back in April, we sat down and we looked at all of our customers, and all of my marketing dollars were going to selling to restaurants. And so when we sat down in April and looked at all of our customers, about 70% of our customers were not actually restaurants, which was kind of a big kick to my face, because I was like, that's what we knew. That's what me and my partner had both owned restaurants, and we knew that's what the case was. And so, but it's actually the digital marketers that were buying our software, and they were using it for their restaurant clients. So we decided to embrace this in April, and so we now actually just target our digital marketers in a white label capacity. So the question comes up, who's your competition? And so that's probably one of the coolest things. If you go Google Wi-Fi marketing right now, you're going to see a ton of different competitors. But in all actuality, we have about 100 digital marketers that are out reselling our product just under a different name. And so we have our sales team that goes out and we call up those digital marketers and we say, hey, you're doing Facebook ads, you're doing Google ads, and you're doing web design, all for these restaurants. Why don't you add Wi-Fi marketing to your product line? And so that's kind of where we're going now, and we're trying to figure out, how to make this message relevant for these digital marketers. So I'll take any questions.
Big round of applause for Eric. Expert panel.
So, and maybe I missed it. Kind of walk me through the revenue model for you. I mean, how do you?
Yeah, so back in the day when we thought we were selling to restaurants, we basically just charged $75 a month per restaurant. Now today that we're selling to the digital marketers, we actually lowered that price. So we typically charge about $45 per location, and then those digital marketers can sell it for however much they want. So we have some of our digital marketers that do kind of a value-added service. So they might be doing their social media campaigns, their email campaigns, and they're charging $199 a month to their restaurant or small business location, and then we just charge them the $45.
And how did you land there on the 45 for the white label?
So it was I guess just kind of trial and error. We honestly tried a ton of different pricing models. So we'll go as low as like $19 a month if they're willing to subscribe to more locations. And so, yeah.
Can you give me an idea of like what so you discovered, so you first started with restaurants, now you're doing digital marketing. Do you have an idea of what your next step might be beyond that, or are you just, yeah?
Yeah, so just trying to get as many digital marketers on board as possible. So the way I really see this looking is, so now if you look at for the digital marketers, what brings in that reoccurring revenue, it's typically either doing AdWords sales or social media. And so we believe we want to be that next AdWords that these digital marketers are out actively selling Wi-Fi marketing. And that's where our revenue comes. And so it's a very easy conversation to partner up with these digital marketers, and they already have those relationships with the small businesses, and that's what's allowed us to scale. So as many and as more as possible.
All right, we're going to open it up to questions. Please raise your hand if you have one, and we'll come around. Travis is first.
I'm going to hold this mic because I actually am very interested in this and know a little bit about it. So Yelp has Yelp Wi-Fi, previously Turnstile. Your price point, at least on the white label, is much lower. Their price point is what, $200 a month. Let's talk hardware. What hardware do you provide, or how does your software interact with the hardware?
Yep. So that was we have a very small, lean team. So we have our white label hardware here, which is very compatible to any like TP-Link or anything. It's cover about 5,000 square foot in a location. And so we're like, maybe Yelp will put it on a different Wi-Fi or different Wi-Fi routers. We've chosen one router. We ship it to them. We don't charge them anything for it. It just kind of is included in that subscription. And so that helps us on our support teams. Now when we are kind of like getting things set up, we know exactly what kind of Wi-Fi router we're using. We know, this the blue port on the back, that sort of thing, where if we would have had to learn, 1,000 different Wi-Fi routers, we'd have a lot more difficulties. And so just by using our one router, we cut down a lot of that.
That's fantastic. And it's very smart to get out of restaurants, because you owning a restaurant, I worked in restaurants for many years.
Owners don't answer their phones.
The cheapest owners ever. Sorry, restaurant owners. So how much is it for the end user, I guess, if it's not going through one of your white label services? That's the last question I have.
So like I said, about 70% of all our business is digital marketers. But if we're selling directly to a restaurant, because we still have a handful of inbound leads that come that way, we'll charge $75 a month to $99 kind of is the price point there.
Question on your left.
Good morning. Thank you. So I've seen this model before around the country. There's a lot of competition. Obviously, you mentioned Yelp. I'm curious, what is your lifetime value of the customers you bring in? Like, how do you make money besides the $45 a month that you sell the private label solution for? And by the way, I think that's a good strategy, because obviously to get to scale, you're going to have to partner with larger companies. And also, have you talked to any large media companies like community newspaper groups, local newspapers like The Star, people like that maybe don't have this solution because they've got feet on the street and relationships with these local businesses?
Yeah, so great question. So the $45, like that's per location. So an average digital marketer is typically selling like 6 to 8 of these locations. So a typical monthly fee for a digital marketer is probably around the $200 mark, depending on the number of locations and where they're located and that kind of thing. But and then up to, we have some of our digital marketers that have like one just reached their 100th location. So it's not just $45 a month. We try to encourage and we train these digital marketers to be our sales force and go out there and sell as many as possible. We've found our best customers are the ones that maybe do some like email marketing or text message marketing platforms, because they need more emails. They need more text or phone numbers. And so we've also partnered with some like similar to your kind of newspaper apps. So if they're a very targeted app, we can redirect them to that download page to download the app. There's a whole bunch of use cases that we've used. And so kind of, like I mentioned, we know a lot about restaurants, and that's our goal, is to start talking to some large media companies. We've started to, but nothing's really landed to as much as I would like it to.
Another question on your left.
Dude, Eric, this is awesome. Thank you for adding value to us. You're an example of why 1 million cups is so valuable. We come here and we can learn from people like you. You've given us so many good nuggets. So thank you very much for adding value to us today on that. I normally don't like to ask this question, but in your situation, it actually seems relevant. Are you to the point that you can see the saturation mark in your existing channel and where you're starting to think about what's next? Or how are you projecting how much longer you can still work this channel with digital marketers, Wi-Fi, restaurants, before you have to expand to the next one?
Yep. So yeah, saturation I don't believe at all. I mean, we have 1,500 locations right now. There's 15 million restaurants in the world, and that's just restaurants. But that's not counting movie theaters and coffee shops and bars, and that's just restaurants. And there's many places like here that need Wi-Fi. From a standpoint, we're just more at the point where we can't grow fast enough. We have one sales guy, and he does about 8 to 9 demos a day, and I have 2 or 3 other interns that are part-time, and so it's just more of a resource planning area right now, and how we can grow as fast as we can.
Question up front.
Very cool idea. Have you thought about reoccurring revenue? I feel like you're missing out on a lot of potential. You're selling the shovel to the digital marketers, and they're charging a monthly fee for their clients to use it.
So that 45 is reoccurring revenue, $45 a month.
Oh, it's a month. It's not just for the unit.
Correct. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Have you thought about maybe adding advertising component to it?
Yes. So that's actually if I don't want to sell more than I can, but so this summer I had a little epiphany. I was out camping, and I'm not a camper, and my girlfriend, she used to work at this lake out in South Dakota, and I didn't get cell service, and I'm looking around, and no one got cell service, and all these kids are running around with iPads and stuff. Camping's not like it used to be. And so I said, you know what, I want to basically turn this campground, I want to pay for their Wi-Fi. In exchange, I want to put some ads up on there. So we're actually working with a deal with Subaru right now, because that's right up their target market, camping type people that would buy Subaru cars, and so they'll be paying us basically per user that logs in, which will be a lot.
Question on your left.
So if I can jump in real quick. With respect to the data, you're collecting phone numbers and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Does your contract allow you to do things with that, anything you want with that data, or does that data belong either to the digital agency or in respect to that particular establishment?
Yep, so the way we wrote that is that the person that pays us, they actually own the data. However, we own a perpetual license to use that data for whatever we want to do with it. We have never sold that data, we have never done anything with that data, but maybe someday.
I was just kind of curious if you've thought about, with coffee shops, of partnering with them for point of sale systems where you can actually limit the time they could be on the Wi-Fi. That's a lot of contention for a lot of small businesses where you get people squatting for half a day. And I was thinking this would be a perfect model where you could actually integrate with the point of sale system to maybe give a key for 2 hours or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good. That was actually feature number 2 or 3 that we added. There was a lot of we had some quick serve restaurants where they want to turn their tables. They don't want people sitting there forever, and so there's actually a time allowance. So if you can set it for 30 minutes or 30 days or 3 years, whatever you want to set it for, and just kick them off, and they'll have to re-log in the next day.
Question down front.
So you mentioned that the information that's being gathered, that's directly sent to you, and the data can be shared with your clients. Is it delivered more in terms of the proprietary Gazilla software, or is it something that can be integrated into MailChimp or a third party?
Yep. So we'll integrate with MailChimp, Constant Contact, all that thing. I probably should have added some more images of the back end, and you can kind of see. But we have some of what we call triggers with those conditional statements, so they can send in. That's kind of, so if maybe it's their first time logging in, we're going to send them to Constant Contact or that sort of thing. But there's also, this is the portal that they're going to be logging into and paying for and that sort of thing.
Can you continue with that thought and just tell us more about what your digital marketing customers are doing with this product?
Yeah, so it's they get pretty darn creative. So we have a lot of them that are just using it at a just strictly as it is, and maybe they're charging a lower price point, but then they're not adding too many more value-added services. We have some that have gotten pretty creative, and they're just putting Wi-Fi into like busy areas, and they have like we have an option that you can put a checkbox or like a drop down, and so they say if you or someone you know is in debt, click this button, and so they're actually selling that lead to like debt consolidators and that sort of thing, and so we don't really all money is green in our mind, so they can do whatever they want to do with it. We do have some that one of our CTO he loves this quote. Is like this guy from GE. He's like developers, and 2 years ago, and he started building it. I was like, no one is ever going to build on top of our platform. Like no one's going to use our API to build their additional unique things. And sure enough, today, like our best customers all have either a secure sign-on or they're using our API in some way to build on top of it. And so I'm glad he made that decision. But back then I was like, yeah, no one's going to do it. But so we have a restaurant it's a restaurant chain down in Texas and like Alabama. They have built a whole like text messaging platform on top of it that you can text through our platform, but they wanted some additional features and they built it themselves.
Another question over here.
I was going to ask about the data too, and is there a way for your customers to give feedback on how you target them? You were saying how if it's their first time, you'll send them a customer survey, or if it's their 10th time, you'll serve them a free beer or something. But do they have any way to say how this is what they would prefer maybe for coupons, or how many times you're contacting them, if that's okay, just stuff like that for them to give you feedback? And also, as you're collecting more and more data, does it cost a lot of money to store this? Do you have to have a database for it? Is that a large area of yours to handle?
Yeah, so a few questions in there. Can I start the first one? So yes, so we have a handful of different templates that they can use. Probably the one that's most used is we have like it's like a green thumbs up and a red thumbs down. So if they select that green thumbs up, it takes them to a pre-populated 5-star Google review. But if they choose that red thumbs down, it takes them to a form that asks, how can we do better, kind of thing. That's from the customer service. They can opt out anytime. So and then there's also some drop downs. So it kind of really depends on that digital marketer, that restaurant, what data they want to receive. And then your final question with the data, I mean, it's a lot of data, but it's all text or numbers, and so it's not like we're storing a bunch of videos or anything like that. So it's not, it's really not too bad.
Question in the center.
Are you capturing your user data at registration, or are you sniffing packets and kind of capturing the data as they're using the Wi-Fi throughout the session?
Yep, so it's registration. So when they want to log into the Wi-Fi, they basically just have to either, this is an example, it just has the email or Facebook. Those digital marketers or restaurant owners can toggle on and off which data they want to collect upon registration.
Question in the back.
Hey, how are you? I think this is a great idea and product that you got going on. I wanted to know, how long did it take you to decide to pivot from going from, restaurant to restaurant, then to decide to go to like agencies, and then from there, how long did it take you to scale?
Yeah, so it was probably like March of this last year. So we sold our first customer in September of last year. And then so in March of this year, we had a few people that kept coming to us for, they wanted to buy our white label solution. And I was like, at that point I was like, no, I like my, branding. I don't want to give away my branding. And so this guy, he kept calling me back, and he is a former owner of mp3.com. So he had a little bit of, and he kept, so I told him, well, all right, it's going to be $3,000 setup fee, and it's going to be, X amount a month. Like, it was crazy. Like, I didn't think he would ever say yes. But then he said, yeah, send, write up the contract, send it over. And so he was like, we didn't have it. Like, we couldn't build it for him at the time, and so I just kind of ignored him, and he kept following up, and so I said, okay, like, here you go, we're going to build this for you. And so we built it to scale. And so not only do we white label it for him, we built it to be able to white label it for multiple partners. And so, we started it out, and we went to a digital marketing conference down in St. Louis and actually sold like hotcakes. And so we're like, all right, let's keep going with this. And then the kind of added benefits of just like support and that sort of thing. So like, while I didn't have my branding, they were no longer calling me to reset their passwords. So I was, instead of calling Gazelle Wi-Fi to reset their password, they were calling Raven Wi-Fi or TableCrunch, our white label partner. And so the less times I have to reset passwords for them to log in, it was a big bonus for me.
On your right. So a not so fun topic is data breach. I've seen a lot of those lately with Uber, the Yahoo breach. In the event that data hackers do get your info, who's liable for that? Are you liable for that, or are the users of your product liable?
Yeah, so we have our development team, we have a guy that's strictly on security pieces. It's always changing, always getting better. And then we hired a pretty darn good lawyer to write the terms of service and contracts, so that way, if that would happen, that we try to alleviate the risk as much as possible. It could happen, but regardless if they're using our system or if they're using, most of the times it makes it more safer. This is probably one of my favorite stories. That there's a story about a bar that was. Guy came in, he had a wide open guest Wi-Fi network, didn't have to put a password in, nothing, and the guy downloads a bunch of movies and music and all that kind of stuff that he didn't really have the rights to. And so the ASCAP, BMI, those licensing agencies came to him and they sued that restaurant. They ended up settling for about $30,000, which is quite a bit for a restaurant. And if he just would have had a terms of service that they checked the box for the terms of service, that liability would have been put on that customer that was downloading the music, but instead that restaurant owner had to pay out about $30K.
Question in the center.
I'm curious, at this point in your history, are you still solving a lot of technical problems, both getting the sign-up sheet to work as well as getting the data out the back end, or are you mostly focused now on sales and marketing?
Yep. So there's always technical stuff, but for the most part right now it's sales and marketing, and then added features and that kind of thing. I'm never going to be happy with where this software is. I think there's always stuff to grow, and then we have what we call the October of, I guess it was 2016, October 2016 incident where the Apple released their new iPhone, and so we had to scramble for about a day or two to make sure our stuff was compatible with their new firmware. So we'll have a couple of those things that pop up, but that's normal for any app or anything like that. So mostly sales and marketing is our primary goal right now.
You mentioned earlier that you have one sales guy right now. So it sounds like you may be at a spot where it's time to grow that team. Do you have plans for that and the means to make it happen?
Yes and no. So we're kind of currently raising a little bit of money. So we have plans to do about $1 million. We have 600,000-ish maybe committed, kind of, not really. So we're making that, getting there. And then I guess that's something we think about every day as far as if we're going to add on or how we're going to add on. Because he's doing about 8 to 9 demos a day, and I just know those aren't getting followed up on, and they're not getting the service that they probably deserve. So our plan is to add a few more. We're just trying to figure out how.
All right, Eric, final question. What can we as a community do to help you?
So yeah, I guess I kind of covered it a little bit, but if you go to our website right now, everything is definitely catered towards restaurants. We're starting to we have a handful of landing pages that are towards those digital marketers, but really trying to figure out how to craft that message to the digital marketers. And our backgrounds are in restaurants, and so if you have any recommendations on how we can really resonate well with those digital marketers or those value-added resellers, that would be very, very helpful. It's just not an area that we're familiar with.
All right, thank you very much. Big round of applause for Eric. Okay, that's it for this week. Next week, we're going to be over in the labs. We've got Golf Swapper, and the other presenter is TBD. Both of our presenters today will be hanging out after. If you have questions, want to talk to them, please do so. Otherwise, have a great Wednesday, and we'll see you next week.